Hello, welcome on back to Billy's Book Vlog Emporium. My name is Billy, and this is the place where we talk about all things science fiction, fantasy, and just generally fiction books as a whole. Today is May 2nd. Can you believe it? It's already May. Warm weather, barbecues, all that. We are here to talk about books. I finished our very I finished our very first book of the month, and I did it today. And immediately afterwards, I progressed in some of the other books I have in the stack. But we're gonna kick off with Malice by John Gwynne. So it's done, and I have thoughts. One of them is that um this book is chonkers. I think the pacing suffers a little bit in the beginning because the POVs were really disjointed. Though I did change my mind toward the end of the book because characters started interacting, they started, come together, like crossing paths. A few characters' POVs are now up in the air. The fates are now up in the air, and I want to read book two and find out what has happened to them. Um, Also, there's a couple big character deaths that go down to the end of the book. Ah, I also want to read book two and find out how they get avenged, if they do get avenged at all. But we shall see because I have a ton of books that I want to get to. One of them is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hudson. It's this purple looking book, another Chonkers novel. Right here. This is Raven Scholar. I have heard many good things about this book, so we might possibly be getting to it, maybe. Um, but Malice, the writing, the characters, the action scenes, the tenseness, all of them get like 5 out of 5, and so good. It's just so good. Um, though I'm also liking Queen of Shadows and the Oleander Sword as well. So I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble deciding which book is like the best out of the bunch. But I'll decide that on my own later on. But I'm wondering I'm wondering what's gonna go down. I'm wondering where is Corban gonna go now? Because he ends up fleeing somewhat because of reasons. And he and his family and a bunch of his friends they end up fleeing the chaos that goes down to the end of the book. And I'm wondering like how his story is going to play out from here. Like, is he gonna try and avenge certain peoples? Is he gonna maybe give up the warfare? We don't know. But I'm hoping to find out. Uh, Maybe I'll just pick up Valor, which is book two. So Valor, which is even more chonkers, or it's about the same length, but Valor is book two, and I'll put this in the stack, possibly, we don't know. But there's some big character moments, and I'm just like, oh, like how is everything gonna continue to occur? We don't know. We should definitely find out. Should definitely find out. 5 out of 5 stars for Mouse by John Gwynne. Really solid start to the fantasy saga. Um, Moving on to Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I am 66-ish% into the book. I'm on this chapter called a path revealed, and some things are starting to kind of irritate me. One of them is like there's this suspension of disbelief regarding one of the characters, and I know the author wrote this like really young, and maybe that's why like his imagination is just shining through, possibly why. But there's a certain suspicion of disbelief that is just kind of grating at me with one of the characters. We don't really know her name yet. She is a female elf, and Aragon has rescued her from where he was staying, and he has broken out with the help of his dragon and his friend. And there's like a really tense moment in which they had to fly away. But now it's been like 5 chapters later, and that elf, she still hasn't awakened. I'm like, why hasn't she awoken yet? And I know this is fantasy, but please, like, please get up soonish. But other than that, it's things are progressing nicely, and I think their next destination is somewhere to the south, I believe. We don't really know. They're kind of just wandering, exploring the world at this point. We don't really know what their next the next city that they're gonna visit is. Um, but I think Aragon definitely has a plan. I think he has a plan, maybe. Um, or maybe he just wants to see what's out there. Because right now he's like really far from home, and he's exploring the world, like. But it remains to be seen what his next goal in the book is. If it's to join the rebels. But yeah, that's some of my thoughts for Aragon by Christopher Cummings. Okay, moving on to Queen of Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. Queen of Shadows. Queen of Shadows is getting so good. It's getting so good. I'm really enjoying it. Main storyline, Alide Kaltane. Kaltane is just so cool now, and she has a really cool name. Um, but I can't tell you because it'll spoil that section of the story. It's just so cool. It's so cool, and I'm really liking the direction that the author took her character. I'm also liking that that the author Sergey Mass is she has this tense, like eerie vibe going on for certain sections of the story, and I have some thoughts. If she ever, if Sarah J. Maas ever decides to stop writing fantasy, or maybe she wants to take a break in between her fantasy books, I think horror or gothic or thriller might be a really nice alternative genre for her because there were some scenes in the chapters that I read yesterday, and those scenes are related to like a massive like amount of lore that gets dropped. Kalana learns the truth about a certain myth, and she learns the truth about like the real history or certain parts of the history behind Ardalan. And that scene, like when I was reading, it was just so tense and it's so like gothic and it had this creeping dread to it. And I really like that. Maybe because one of the first gothic books that I read was Mexican Gothic, and that book was really good. And the scenes that I read yesterday reminded me a lot of that. Uh, that's my thoughts. I also like how Kalana and Rowan. I like how these two characters are finally. bring their walls down, even if it's just for like this one chapter, and even if they kind of go back to grading each other's nerves the next chapter. For right now, they just have this like really nice heart to heart conversation that I really enjoyed. It was really nice to have them both be on the same side without arguing. Also same went for Kale. There was a really nice Kale moment that the author like wrote down in the most recent chapter that I read, and that was also really nice to have them be on the same team without fighting and arguing. That was also really nice, and I really enjoyed that section of it. Uh, Menon and Alide, things are happening. Things are just going down. I think Alide is she's definitely gonna jump on the next bandwagon out of Morath. As soon as she can gather her supplies. And I like how she's just her thoughts are escape priority of escape thing right now. And I like how she just kind of focuses Alita. I like how Alita just kind of focuses in on that and just having her double down on this one effort, even while she helps Manon with whatever. I really like that. And Manon is also just making enemies wherever she goes. I'm hoping that there's gonna be a duel between Manon and uh Calcaine Rampire. And no, Calcaine does have one advantage over Manon, and if they decide to duel, is that she has this thing called Shadowfire. It's so cool, but I can't really talk about. Um, but anyway, yeah, that's some of my thoughts for Queen of Shadows. Moving on to Ollie and the Sword by Tasha Shree. So this book is book two in the Jasmine Throne saga. This book actually picks up shortly after book one ends, and it's only been like a couple months. And chapter was it, by chapter 18, which is a Malini chapter, Priya and Malini have met. They have finally reunited after months and months of separation. Uh, and I like how as soon as Priya leaves Avarania, things start to go wrong. Her magic is going haywire. A certain character comes back from the dead. I will not tell you who it is, but he makes a surprise return as of Bhumika's like chapter 16. He makes a surprise return, and he brings along like a whole bunch of other dead characters too who have also risen. Things are taken from the strange to the even more strange. So I'm definitely enjoying this book right now. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm wondering how Mooney's POV is gonna play out in chapter 18, and if Priya can actually help her with the war effort, which is what she's there to do. Priya is there to help with the war effort, and she is there to help Malini win, because that is in the best interest of her home, her city of Aranya, and her sister, Bhumika. Also, speaking of Bhumika, things are happening with on her side too. Things are happening on her side. Not only does Bhumika's magic go kind of haywire, it stops working, and this is also true for Priya as well. And I'm wondering, like, what is going on? What is going on? Because it's just weird. It's so strange. So I'm a little bit curious about how the or why the author decided to advance their storyline like this way. But it's a good progression. It's a good progression. It definitely adds some intrigue, I think, to both Bhumika and Priya's character arcs. Uh, and yeah, that's all I got for